everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ, and I've been working on a series about getting ready for publication, and some of the things that you'll probably have to provide either in the query process if you're querying agents, or in the publication process when you're querying publishers. And some of the reasoning behind why agents and publishers will ask you for some of this stuff is because not everybody on the publishing house team has the opportunity or the time to read your book. So not everybody who is marketing your book, not everybody who is designing the cover for your book, not everybody who is helping with social media or getting you placements with interviews, etc., not all of those people will be able to read your book in its entirety if they're able to read it at all. Weirdly enough, the publishing houses don't pay their marketers to read their list. I wish they did, but the fact of the matter is that's not a productive use of the marketer's time, because they could spend 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours reading your book, or they could spend those same 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours landing you publicity opportunities. And that is that's a way better use of their time than understanding your story to the nth degree, right? So part of your job as an author is to put together information for those people so that they can do their job well, so that they know not to send your book to different organizations, whether they be religiously affiliated in one way or another, or whether they be politically affiliated in one way or another. Their goal is to try to help you and your book find the right home, and if they don't have all of the information on how to do that well, they won't be able to find the right home. So all that aside, today we're going to talk about writing back cover copy and jacket blurbs. This is one of those areas that authors tend to struggle with. I know I struggle with it with my own books. It's so much easier to write back cover copy for somebody else's book than it is to write it for your own. And I think a big part of that is that authors and writers can get so caught up in every little detail that happens in the story that they lose track of the things that are actually important to understand the plot. I wanted to just give you some tips on how I do it so that you can also write really good back cover copy that may actually make it onto the back of your book. And even if it doesn't, will be really helpful for the person who does write that back cover copy, because they'll know, okay, here's where the emphasis was when the author wrote it, here's what the author emphasized in their synopsis, and here's some of the excerpts that I read. This is kind of the general feeling, the general vibe. I think I've got it, so let's look at it this way, right? So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. As you begin, the first things that you're going to want to do are write an elevator pitch. You heard me right, an elevator pitch. I want you to write the description of your book in one sentence. You get one sentence. It can be a compound sentence. I'll even let you make it a run-on, but it should not be more than 20 words, and you only get one sentence, okay? Sum up your book. Sum up the main plot, specifically the plot of your book, in one sentence. Now, go write the synopsis. Tell me the entire story of the entire book in 2 pages, double-spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font. If you can do both of those things, you're going to be ready to write this jacket blurb, okay? So what are some of the rhythms that you'll notice if you look through some of these jacket blurbs? Let's take a look at this one. This is Unspoken by D. Henderson. This one actually has some pretty long jacket blurb. This takes up most of the back of the book, which is totally fine. If it's the most effective way to do it, I'm here for it, right? We have a tagline. Charlotte Graham is at the center of the most famous kidnapping in Chicago history. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, although one of the paragraphs is only a sentence long. I know my ring light makes it a little bit hard to see. We actually get most of the characters. We get both Charlotte, Graham, and Bryce Bishop. And then most importantly, we have this line at the end. This line is the hardest line to write, no matter whose book you're writing jacket blurb for. Charlotte wants to trust him. She needs to tell him what happened, because a crime the cops thought was solved has only opened another chapter. The goal of that line is to get people interested in opening the book, right? There's a bookmark in there. At some point in my life, I went through all of my books and put bookmarks in them so that I could pick any of them up and be ready to read. Little gifts from young me to present me. But, so, as you're looking at this one introduces both characters. It gives you a little bit of the background. We know that Charlotte Graham was kidnapped at some point. We know that she has never said a word to the cops, to her doctors, or her family about those 4 years when she was kidnapped. And we know that Bryce Bishop knows that she is involved somehow, right? So, as you're looking at this one, it's a little bit longer, but as long as it gets the job done, you're good to go. Let's look at another one. Let's look at Drift. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I love this book so much. It's fantastic. I love it so much. This one has a tagline, again. Also about 4 paragraphs. So a little bit longer. And we start with, I'm not an angel, nor am I a demon. I'm not a ghost, as some would like to believe. I'm a drifter, something God created in his spare time and then forgot on the fringes of reality. That's the introduction you get to this book. That's the first thing you'll see when you look on the back cover, which I love. First of all, I told you, I love this book. It's my favorite in, like, the whole world. You can tell by how well loved it is. Like, the pages are soft to the touch because of how many times I've held it and read it and just hugged this book. And the fact that it went back and forth to college with me all the time. I mean it. I love this book so much, okay? And then we have an introduction to the plot. Charlie Murphy, boss of the crime syndicate, the organization, is dead. His sassy, impulsive, bold, daring, and fearless 20-year-old adopted by kidnapping daughter, Baby Doll, stands by his open grave, poised and ready to run. That is a long sentence, but it tells you everything you need to know about Baby Doll, the main character. It tells you her situation, tells you she's not happy there. It introduces us to her and to the whole plot, and then we have, if Martis, Charlie's bodyguard and heir to the justice position, discovers the role she played in Charlie's death, she will pay the ultimate price. In 3 sentences, we have enough to sell this book, okay? And then we introduce the other character. A few yards away, a freezing man huddles in a ball on a freshly filled-in grave. He doesn't seem to be mourning. He seems to be helpless, hopeless, waiting, foolish. He's a drifter, waiting for a new tether. So this introduces you to both the main plot, the fact that this mob boss is dead, and the 3 main characters, because you also have the bodyguard. And it tells you how they meet, it tells you what's going on, and it tells you everything that you need to know about what's going to happen here. It ends in a world where loyalties and betrayals are both rewarded with death. Each pawn in this deadly game must stay one step ahead of the rest, or they will find themselves 6 feet under, next to Charlie Murphy. So it comes full circle, and it tells you exactly what to expect as everybody's racing to win, right? So 10 out of 10. But are you sensing a pattern here? You want to introduce the characters, you want to introduce the plot, but you want to stick to the very beginning. If you give anything away, it should be what happens in the first chapter or 2, right? We want to know what is going on in this book, but specifically, we want to know how we get hooked. Let's look at a different genre, though, because those were both crime and suspense. Let's look at Beast. This one is a young adult fantasy novel. Once again, we have, it's a very glossy book. Once again, we have a tagline, and then we have about you get one full paragraph and then 2 sentences after that. So, for as long as Beast can remember, she has lived among her master's dogs. With them she sleeps, with them she eats, with them she fights and struggles to survive. But through hunger and cold, she dreams of one day becoming her master's favorite, earning bones with meat and a place beside the fire. When her pack scatters after a surprise raid, Beast must defend herself against slavers hunting down the loners. They are so strong and she's only a beast. Or is she? So this tells you a little bit about this book. I wouldn't say that that's the best description of what happens in this book, but I would say that it's a pretty effective hook, right? You know you're reading a fantasy novel. You know you're reading about a girl who is either a shapeshifter or believes she's a dog. You know that she's gonna enter into some really difficult situations where she's running from slavers, she's running from everything, and she has to defend herself. She has to survive. It's a story of survival. You get that from this. I wouldn't call that 10 out of 10 best possible back cover copy, but it did intrigue me enough to make me pick this book up, and it did intrigue me enough to read the book in its entirety. So, you know, so it is what it is. But like I said, it's short. What do you notice about this one though? This one still tells you about the main character, and it still tells you about the main plot, but it doesn't get past the first beginning of the book. That raid happens within the first 2 chapters, if I'm remembering properly. You don't spend a whole lot of time camped out in that section of the book. It is a snapshot of the very beginning, when everything exciting happens. And then it tells you a little bit, just enough of what to expect in the end. So you don't want to tell your reader everything. You just want to tell them who they're reading about and why they should care about the person they're reading about. What about Harry Potter? Another middle grade young adult fantasy that most of us already know. Let's look at the back of this. Harry Potter has never played a sport while flying on a broomstick. There's no tagline on this one, interesting enough. He's never worn a cloak of invisibility, befriended a giant, or helped hatch a dragon. All Harry knows is a miserable life with the Dursleys, his horrible aunt and uncle, and their abominable son, Dudley. Harry's room is a tiny closet at the foot of the stairs, and he hasn't had a birthday party in 11 years. Again, this introduces you specifically to Harry Potter, what he's going through, and why you should care about him. It doesn't tell you anything in that first paragraph. There's only 2 paragraphs about what to expect from this book, other than, there's probably going to be broomsticks, dragons, invisibility cloaks. But he starts off so normal. A lot of people can relate to Harry and his story of having really a not good home life. You know, that's part of, I think, the appeal for Harry Potter, is no kid thinks their life is all that great. Even if they're the best kids in the world and they have the best life in the world, none of them really think that their life is all that great. So most 11-year-olds could relate to this. Being 11 is hard. But all that is about to change when a mysterious letter arrives by Owl Messenger. Again, introducing us to the setting, introducing us to the plot. We know that something is about to happen, and we know that this is not a normal book. Like, from beginning to end, we know that this book, while it might take place in our world, this world is very different than ours. A letter with an invitation to a wonderful place he has never dreamed existed. There he finds not only friends, aerial sports, and magic around every corner, all of the things that were mentioned at the beginning, but a great destiny that's been waiting for him if Harry can survive the encounter. So that last section, if Harry can survive the encounter, that's the part that seals the deal for the person picking this book up. As you go about writing your own back cover copy, I want you to keep these things in mind. You don't have to cover the whole plot. You shouldn't tell the reader everything that the character gets involved in. So much happens to Harry in this book, right? You shouldn't tell them everything. You should introduce the character and the setting, and then tell them why you should care about this character. That's the best back cover copy for everything, even no matter what the genre is, right? So, but maybe you are writing a nonfiction book, right? Maybe you're trying to tell the world about this thing that will help them. So let's look at one of these. Let's look at branding yourself. I highly recommend this book if you're getting into building your author platform for the first time. 10 out of 10 talks about different social media and how you can create a personal brand and how you can get accustomed to doing what I'm doing right here. And how to use social media to invent or reinvent yourself. That's the tagline here. Here we have, here we have a pretty busy back cover. We have Discover How To, and it's a list of all of the things you'll learn in this book. And then we have the back cover copy as expected, right? So we have, want a new job or career? Need to demonstrate more value to customers or employers? Those two questions help them single out their audience. So if you don't want either of those things, you'll probably put the book down. If you do, then this is the right book for you. Use today's hottest social media platforms to build the powerful personal brand that gets you what you want. In this completely updated book, the authors help you use social media to attract new business and job opportunities you'll never find any other way. From Facebook to Pinterest to video sharing, this book is packed with new techniques and ideas that are practical, easy, and effective. The whole thing is designed to make you feel like you can do it, right? That's how you sell nonfiction, is you say, anybody can do this. Here's how we're going to help you. They show you how to supercharge all your business and personal relationships, demonstrate that you are the best solution to employees or partners' toughest problems, become a recognized thought leader, and turn your online network into outstanding jobs, great projects, and a fulfilling, profitable career. I would love that. Wouldn't you? I feel like everybody would love to have their online network turn into outstanding jobs, great projects, and a fulfilling, profitable career. That's the dream, really. So in this book, then, you'll also get to learn how to choose today's best social media tools for your personal goals. So they're going to help you narrow it down because there's a lot there. Build an authentic storyline and online identity that gets you the right opportunities. Make the most out of Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and leverage new platforms like Pinterest and Instagram. This book was published before TikTok was a thing. Build connections, improve expertise by sharing video on YouTube and Vimeo. Find yourself on search engines and then optimize your personal online presence. Promote your events and victories and defeats and lessons learned. Integrate online and offline networking to get more from both. This book is like a one-stop shop. And that's the point of the back cover copy, is to tell you all of the things in a really straightforward and easy way. Like, this is really consumable, even though there's a lot. It's designed in such a way that you can really easily look through it, figure it out, and pick out the points that you need to. And even if you're just trying to figure out one thing, maybe about Facebook, right? The table of contents has all of the information that you could possibly need to make this a really good reference book as well. So that's the trick with, nonfiction educational, but maybe you're writing a memoir. You're gonna do the same thing that you would do with fiction, but you are the character and your story is the plot line. Works the same way. So much of selling a memoir is the same as selling a novel. The only difference is that all of the things in it are real. Which actually makes it easier to sell because it means that you can present it in a lot easier way. But you'll write the back cover copy really easily. It's the same thing. So how do you do it? Again, you're going to narrow it down to what happens in the first chunk of the book, right? First chapter, second chapter, maybe even third chapter. What happens? Who are the main players? Which characters are the most important? That was something, if you have an ensemble cast, that's going to be one of the hardest things for you to narrow down. But think about screen time. Think about what the main drama comes from, right? So maybe you have a group of 5 friends, right? Most of the book is told from 2 of their perspectives. Those are the 2 you're going to mention. Harry Potter, you know that there's Hermione and Ron, and Neville, and Seamus, and everyone else. Voldemort isn't even mentioned, right? You're gonna tell us the story of Harry. That's what they did. Same thing for you. Even if you have 5 main characters and you love them all dearly, narrow it down. Who are the main characters? Who are the most important characters? Who, if you took them out of the book, would the book not exist anymore? Right? So pick your 1, pick your 2 main characters, tell us about them. Like Dee Henderson, that was a great example of having 2 main characters. We have both Charlotte and Bryce. We have to be introduced to both of them. They're both coming at this from very different angles. So we have a little bit of the tension and the drama there if you read between the lines. But yeah, so pick your first main 2 characters and tell us where they start the story. Tell us how they meet. And then tell us why we should care. That's the hardest part, is telling us why we should care. Why should we read this book, right? Who is this going to impact and why? All of those are things that you'll want to figure out as you're doing this. But I believe in you. Keep it short. Keep it to 3 or 4 paragraphs maximum. But don't be afraid to change up the paragraph length. Have a couple paragraphs that are like 1 sentence each. That's allowed. Play with bullet points. Maybe a numbered list fits your book better than some other things. Maybe that fits your genre a little bit better than some other things. But tell us what happens in the very beginning, introduce the characters, and then move us to why we should care that something is happening to those characters. And then add in a little bit of suspense. Every genre benefits from suspense. It doesn't matter if you're writing nonfiction or if you're writing fiction or even if you're writing a thriller. Romance, all of it hinges on suspense. So there will be an element of suspense to your story no matter what, or it won't be a very good story. Tell us what that element is in the back cover copy. And like I said, the back cover copy that you're writing, unless you're self-publishing, probably won't be the back cover copy on the back of the book in the end. But if it is, if you do this well, you will help your marketing team tremendously. And they might put your words on the back of the book. It might be the best thing to have your voice be the one that's introducing your book. There's only one way to find out, and that's to write it. But you'll need it in your pitch, you'll need it in your query as you're reaching out to agents. You should put this back cover copy in your query letter. It's the thing that will best describe, define, and market your book. So I hope this helps. I really, really do hope this helps. As you come up with more questions, let me know. Put a comment down below. If this was really helpful for you in any way, I would love it if you would drop a like, drop a comment, and then click subscribe. It would really help the channel, really help me, and that way too I can help more authors. I love helping more authors. I have an entire playlist about all of the things that I've done to help authors break into the publishing industry, so if you're still getting stuck, go check out that playlist. I'm sure there's a video in there that will answer your question, and if not, leave your question in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, I'll see you then. Happy reading, happy writing, and good luck in your publishing journey.